Okay, here's our Tohatsu 9.8 two-stroke. So last time we had her out and off of Partita, it was idling really roughly. We'd hit the gas and it would stall out. Classic signs of dirty carburetor. So fuel pump's off, clean that out. Just drop the float bowl. You see all the gunk? Get up here in the light. Oh yeah. That's highly likely beginnings of our problem here. So we've got salty gunk. So we're gonna get cracking, clean all that out. Better turn down the 70s soft rod. Man. When was the last time you thought about Gary Player Special, huh? Oof. Alright, bowl cover. I'm using a mass airflow sensor cleaner. And an old toothbrush. Okay, so that tiny hole was clogged. There we go. Big chunk just came out. I can't get inside these passages, but I'm going to rely on the two-way blast to do it. Looks pretty good. It's looking nice and clean. Now the float assembly. Pop this one screw off. I think this all just lifts out with that one screw. Yep. Look, see the needle there is all jumped up. So all this happened because I stored the engine down in the float hull during the 5 months of COVID quarantine. There's really very little airflow in there, and I hadn't been able to rinse the motor in fresh water before I left it. It's pretty much a recipe for trapped corrosion, salt on aluminum corrosion issues. You can see all that gunk where that little hanger goes. Okay, now we're going to go after this jet. Okay, thankfully it's pretty clean in there. Very carefully going to go with a pin. Most people say don't put anything in there, but I'm not boring it out. I'm just running the pin through just to make sure it's clean. Okay, now we're going to do the mixture screw, idle mix screw. I believe that's the idle mix screw. I had some coating on it. Such fine little parts. Imagine all of the experimenting to get carburetors to be correct and reliable. So I watched an experienced guy do this, put it all the way down, and came back 2 turns. Half, 1, 1.5, 2. That's our starting point. Little guy is in. Okay, completed carb. Let's put it back on. Okay, got the carb back on, all cleaned up. Went to start it, and we're frozen. Recoil won't pull, and I can't turn the engine over by pushing on the prop. Ah, nuts. Okay, so we just went to YouTube University, watched Dangar, Stu from Dangar down in Oslo in Australia. I'm gonna pull the recoil starter off, get a get a wrench onto the flywheel, pull the plugs out, and flood the cylinders with automatic transmission fluid. That's the recommendation. That will seep in. Actually, first we'll try some liquid wrench in there, try to go after the rust, assuming there's some water in there. Maybe we'll get somewhere when we get to the flywheel. So we're going to leave the transmission fluid soaking in the cylinder bores there for the afternoon. Supposedly that helps it get around the rings and free the thing up. Well, not such good news on our Tohatsu. So getting the oil in the cylinders didn't help break it free. So what's going on now is there's a mix of oil, two-stroke oil, and gasoline, about 50-50, and it's flooded in the two cylinder bores, and I need to let it sit for a number of days. So hopefully sitting a few days in that solution will work its way around those stuck pistons. That is a huge bummer if this thing's messed up. I really don't want to have to get in there and rebuild it. Never done that before, but if it... Okay, here's what we're dealing with. It's our Tohatsu 9.8 horsepower, and try as I might for the last 4 or 5 days, I can't get it to turn over. So we're going to take off the cylinder head. Looks like about 8 bolts here. Gonna be really careful not to break bolts. We're gonna try to do some heating up carefully. We're gonna open this up. We're gonna look at the tops of the pistons and do some tapping and do what we can to break the cylinders free, or the pistons free. Something is stuck in here. I'm going to drop the lower unit off first so the prop shaft is not part of the equation, and might as well take it off to change the impeller and the gear oil, give it a full service. And it's full of gas, and we're going to be applying some heat here, so I really should get the gasoline out of the equation. But what we want to do is get to the pistons without taking the whole motor, well, the block off the motor housing. This is a one-piece unit, so I'm going to have to reach down in here. But hopefully what we want to do is get to the pistons themselves. We get to the tops of the pistons, and we're going to do some really careful tapping to try to break whichever one is stuck or both free. If that doesn't work, it gets more serious. Then the power head comes out and literally gets pulled apart. Somewhere there's a seam in here, and physically take the pistons out and do at that point a rebuild, which might mean boring the block a little bigger, getting slightly bigger pistons and rings. Be a pretty major rebuild. I'm really hoping that's not necessary. Again, because it's been running so well before this, I just don't think it's that bad. Here we go. So we're going to be super careful not to bust any bolts here. So I'm not going to use big tools. That's on hard, as it should be. That one seemed to want to go. Okay, none of these want to just pop right off. Oh boy. Okay, step one, we're going to try to heat this up. Just had a thought, which is that I had filled these cylinders with gas and oil mix to try to have it seep in, and I don't think I've emptied that out yet. So before we apply a whole bunch of heat, let's get the gasoline out of there. Okay, so I think all that gas and oil mix leaked out through the exhaust ports, like it was supposed to anyway. Good. I'm not gonna start a big fire in here. Got my little motor hanging mount. Made that for the vise this morning. Okay, I just heated this top one. This one is broken free. Let's see if we can get the second one to go. There we go. I think I'm just losing the... Man, this sucks. Sounds like I hear that little crack. That's good. Okay. Do a little bit on each one. That one's going. And we just busted it. Great. Oh boy, huh? Well, this will be a mess. Okay, got the head off finally. Didn't do too much damage, I don't think. I was careful to pry only at the bolt holes. None of the surface in between, hopefully. Do a little bit of sanding, clean that up. It's kind of cool. These are Hemi heads. That's what makes this a 9.8. It's the same motor as their 8 horsepower, but with this Hemi head chamber, see the bulge to it. Develops a little more horsepower. Okay, so here's our problem status now. This is the head gasket coming apart. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts broken off. There's the thermostat stuck in there. Pry that out. So what Anton wants me to do is to do some repeated heated and cooling cycles on the studs here and do some tapping on them, and then eventually I'll grind some flats on each side of these and grab it with the vice grip and just start gently rocking them back and forth to break it free. Since the other 7 broke free fairly easily, I'm hoping that this was just too much brute force that broke these off. If I go slowly and grab down low, it should be okay. I'm going to keep the crappy old gasket here, so if I scrape my tool, it's on the discardable head gasket and not on the mating surface underneath. I also have to go in here and clean out the cylinder bores before we try to get this thing loosened up. You can see there's a little bit of rust in here. It's not good. That's definitely what's going on. I really don't want to have to physically take the whole crankcase apart, but if I can't get it to move this way, that'll be next. Oh boy, huh? The little motor, I sure hope I think it's worth it. The hard part is you just can't get a 4-stroke anywhere near the lightweight of this. This thing's only 50, I think it's 57 pounds, and a 10-horse 4-stroke is going to be pushing, well, it's the size of Ravenswing's main motor, which is 108 pounds. So basically twice the weight. So either that or I'll go down to a 50-pound 6-horsepower motor for the dinghy. But we sure would like to get this guy running again. Okay, it's the next morning, fresh start, Sunday morning operation. Get the 11 cylinder head bolts out. So we've got 7 that came out cleanly. 4 broke. There's 11 of them. Of the 4 that broke, 1 I was able to get out. Don't remember where this one was. This one came out. See, ground a little bit off there, and was able to slowly wrench that one out just by grabbing it with vice grips. This one started drilling, and the drill bit is broken inside there, so that's going to be our main problem child. I'm going to stop, not make it any worse, and get some machining help on that one. This one has been drilled out. It's a bit of a mess, so that's going to need something like a helicoil, an insert for new threads. That's number 10. And let's work on number 11. So if you can see in there, some of the stud is sticking up. I've been turning this vice grip like a 1/16 of a turn every 5 minutes or so, but I think it's finally coming. I'm not putting enough pressure to break it. There, we're going to throw some more grease and go backwards a little bit. Keep working it back and forth. I'm not pushing hard. Each time I go forth, going a little farther. I think it's coming. Been greedy before and broke them, so I gotta, for feeling any resistance, we're gonna stop. I think we're I think we're getting there. Yep, okay. Nice and easy. Come out of there, you little dog. Go backwards, drive that in a bit. Back and forth. Okay. So all of this to get the cylinder head bolts out, and we still haven't tried freeing up the pistons. So this motor's still seized up. There we go. There's number 11. And we've got a long way to go to clean this thing out. The cylinder walls are super clean. They had a film of rust on them, but it wasn't bad. And the piston tops look totally fine. So I'm still believing this is just going to be a friction issue. We'll free this thing up. So I'm getting the pistons to move up and down. They're full travel, which is great, but it is taking serious blows with the mallet there. And this dowel, you can see the head of the dowel is taking the curve of the piston top. So in order to get these up and down, I'm having to smash with really strong blow, and they just move a few millimeters at a time with each pound. So you can see the cylinder walls look super clean. The piston tops look almost new. So I guess the problem is down in the crank side. Full rebuild, here we go. So here's the propeller shaft splines are in there. It's looking a little rusty in there. That's not good. Okay, so I've got all these bolts out, about 8 bolts. Let's see if we can crack this sucker open. Oop. Okay, and here's that's the reed for the carburetor mounting plate, and the reeds are in there. So I'd like to leave all that intact. Okay, I can't do this with one hand, and I don't have a phone holder, so pick it up here in a few minutes. Okay, now we know why our motor won't turn over. Holy crap. This whole shaft, bottom of the pistons, it's all rusted. Dang it. Okay, we'll take this all the way apart. I mean, the good news is the reed valve stuff is all good. The carburetor's fine. The tops of the pistons and the bores are okay. It's just this cast iron stuff that's all rusted. So hopefully this is just a massive cleaning job. We'll put it all back together and it'll work. All right, let's get in here and clean this up. Getting there. Bottom one's fine. Middle one's spinning. Top one's spinning fine. Okay, we're gonna do a helicoil insert. We got all of the other the 3 broken studs out. This drill press has automatic reversing when you're tapping. When you go to the right depth, preset depth, it automatically electrically switches the motor, reverse polarity, and it spins backwards. So it won't draw down too far. So we just drilled out oversized with the right helicoil tap bit. And it's coming out of these guys. It's an M6 bolt. There's the inserting tool. So it gets inserted by hand, right?
Yeah.
Pressure. So it's tapered, so it wanted to get itself started. It's biting those threads that we just put in. Okay.
So there we go.
There it is. Okay.
There's a little tang down in the bottom of there that you use to put it in, but it gets in the way of
the new bolt. Right?
the new bolt. So you break that, and hopefully that falls out.
I just did right there.
Did we? Yeah. See, there you go. So that is now probably as strong as it was before, if not stronger.
And we'll get our 1 bolt. There we go. That's one of the original cylinder head bolts. turns in there real nice. So the last thing we'll do is take Q-tips and put grease in each of these holes and really get the grease into the threads, because when you just put it on the bolt, I pulled some out of the lower unit, and where they had been threaded into the body, the grease was all gone, of course, and the grease had run up the bolt. So getting the grease down into the threads at the receiving side is key. Okay, that's our helical oil.
Do this 3 times.
Oh, really?
Because we're going to clean it out and take a look at it.
Okay.
This might be it. I don't know. They're not very bad.
Mm-hmm. Cylinder honing. Another thing where it's super easy, but the tool is 40 or 50 bucks. So you just went in reverse?
Yeah, it was chattering.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I think the stones have gotten worn in a certain direction. And so just figured I'd see if that fixed the... All right.
Okay.
So let's WD-40 and wipe and
clean it out. And so with a big thanks to Anton's beautifully stocked private machine shop, we got all the parts ready to rock. Got an order placed, 150 bucks worth of miscellaneous gaskets and parts coming in, and while we're waiting, we're giving her a paint job. So next time, we'll put this thing back together and hopefully get the old TacoCat running up and down the Petaluma River very soon. See you then. Thanks for watching. Bye.